Today I'll be going over a new user webinar and how to get started with CBRNResponder. So if you've used our system's RadResponder or ChemResponder in the past, a lot of this should look familiar. And if you are a true new user, hopefully I will be able to pass along some information that will help explain the CBRNResponder program to you a little bit better. So CBRNResponder was released in July 2019, and it brings the existing RadResponder and ChemResponder and the future BioResponder programs under one roof, as we like to say, to extend their data collection, information sharing, and event managing capabilities across all hazards. So CBRNResponder does not, quote unquote, replace any of the RadResponder, ChemResponder, or in the future BioResponders, but instead it just brings them all together to be a little bit more easier to access, especially if your organization has multiple hazard types. CBRNResponder provides a holistic situational awareness by allowing the user to view all active events across the entire CBRNResponder network in one location. And so this is a very important, we get this question a lot. It is a single sign-on environment, meaning that your username for RadResponder or ChemResponder can be used across all the platforms, including CBRNResponder. So no need to create a different account or anything like that. You use the same login information. And here's just a good visual representation of what we were talking about. So we do already have the RadResponder and ChemResponder, and in the future we are hoping to release a BioResponder and a future IMAC portal. So if you already do have a RadResponder or ChemResponder account, you also have CBRNResponder access. Use that same login, that same password. But if you are new to CBRNResponder and you need to log in, you do have this centralized dashboard for all hazards, and we can go over that a little bit more in the live demo. And like I said, if you have used our other programs in the past, this should look familiar. You use the same top band ribbon to switch between the organization and the event space, highlighted in red on the screen here. And if you do prefer using either RAD or CHEM specific sites, you can navigate between them using the side navigation highlighted in yellow on the screen. And I did mention that this presentation will be recorded and uploaded into the resource library. Well, the CBRNResponder resource library actually has access both to our RAD and CHEM resources. And like I said, that is for your reference to go back to at any time. So if you are a new user, which this is a new user webinar, and you do not already have an account, you can request one from CBRNResponder. The pre-login page in the top right-hand corner, highlighted in red, you will see the request account tab, and you want to go ahead and click that, and it will bring you to this request account page, and all you need to input is your name, country citizenship, your work email, your work phone, and a password. It is a two-step verification process, so someone from your organization will have to accept your request, and then someone from CBRNResponder will go ahead and accept your request before you can get started. If you do want specific RAD or CHEM hazard-specific news or updates on events, you will have to go to the specific pre-login home pages, and like I showed you in the previous slide, you can use that side navigation to do so. But this is a great resource just to go ahead and you can see where we have other upcoming special feature webinars and bonus webinars coming up, as well as just news and updates on what's going on with CBRNResponder. So now we'll be going into the website so I can give you a live demo. Just just for best visualization on how to use the website. All right, so this is the pre-login page for CBRNResponder. I just wanted to go over the request an account just for all those new users out there. This is our terms of use, so please feel free to read through this on your own. One thing that I did want to just go over, very important for a lot of our users, is this segment right here that I'm highlighting. Data uploaded to CBRNResponder are owned solely by the collecting organization. So your organization owns your information, and that's just, obviously I wanted to hit on that before moving forward because a lot of our users want to know that. And then so you click agree after you read all that, and this is that request account page that I showed before. So since I already have an account, I'm gonna just log in here. And it will bring me to this dashboard where we do have this support 24/7 emergency hotline. So if you do ever have a question, we're available 24/7. Right here is a button if you need to reach out to the FEMA CBRN office. And this is for our non-emergency support as well. And down here, we do display our network status. And right now, we are approaching 1,800 organizations with close to 10,000 responders in CBRNResponder. This is that side navigation that I was talking about earlier. So we have Rad Kim, and hopefully in the future, we have Bio in the IMAC portal. So from here, I think the most important thing we're gonna dive on into is the organization space. Up in this top banner, you can click this drop down right here, and you can select from the organizations you belong to, or you can request a membership to another organization. So I'm gonna go ahead and click my organization, and this will bring me to the organization dashboard. So this is really good, just one-stop shop for a lot of those high-level roles like admin and planners. And you get a lot of information here. You give any pending request. So if someone's trying to either join your organization or like we have here is a partnership, you can approve or reject from here. You also have an equipment list with maintenance coming soon. If you scroll over here, we have a total data breakdown with different data types listed below. And this is our data for the last 24 hours, which you can also choose which time frame you want to use, anywhere from the last hour if you have an active event going on, or the last 30 days. And like I said, this dashboard is a great place for admins, personnel managers, equipment managers, for any action items that you just need to get to. Next, so we will be going down this left-hand side menu just to get a good reference for the organization space. So next we will be going to the organization details. So what's good about here is this just very high level stuff. You can obviously see this is just organizations about your specific detail, the location, and organization settings. So for organization settings, this is something pretty important right here is the accessible data type, hazard types, excuse me. And for us, we have biological listed, but as I've said previously, biological hazard type is not yet available to the public, but we do have our radiological and chemical hazard types available. And just scrolling on down, here we have an action log, which is really good just to know situationally what's going on in your organization, who's doing what, who you're organization space. Moving down on this left-hand side menu, we have partnerships. And so if you, in a real-world situation, you know that your organization will not be working alone in an emergency response effort, and you know that you have this pre-existing relationship with another organization, a partnership is a great way to just create a common operation picture and to share different data and to make sure you guys are really on the same page. And so right here you can see these are different organizations that we have partnerships. So let's just take this Arizona RRA for an example, and we have data shared by my partner and data I am sharing. And so up in the right-hand corner, we have this green button that says request partnership. And so this is where you go if you know, like I said, this is a great way to get ahead of the curve before the actual emergency happens. You can have this pre-existing partnership set up in the organization space. So back to the left-hand side, here, let me cancel out of this. We're moving on to events. And so this is all events that your organization has hosted or created. And again, in the top right-hand corner, we have the green Create Event button. And here's an important feature. So if your organization has a lot of events like mine does, you don't want to scroll through all of those. The great feature is the filters right here. So you can filter by what type of an event, the hazard type that it is, and a start and end date time. Another way to filter a little bit of what you're looking at is over here on the right-hand side, we have this Choose Visible Columns button. So if you select this, you'll get a series of check marks, boxes that are either checked or unchecked. And so depending on, you can uncheck names and the sponsors. And that will populate what you see on your list. And whatever you're seeing on here is how on the top right-hand corner, if you want to export this list to an Excel document, however, whatever visible columns you choose with this button is how it will be exported onto your Excel document. Moving on down to the list, we have the situational reports and lessons learned. This is chemical hazard type specific. So if your organization does not have the chemical hazard type selected, these will not be available to you. That is a just rule of thumb. If my screen looks different than your screen, good chance it is that I have a different role or a different hazard type selected for my organization. So moving on down, one of the most important tabs on the left-hand side here is the personnel tab. This is where you get a full list of all the personnel within your organization. Before I get into anything too deep here, we do have a view explanation of the roles. It's a little cheat sheet just for your reference. It's this blue question mark in the right-hand corner. So if you select that, it'll give you this list of all the different organization roles. So if you just need a quick refresher on what roles do what, this is a great place to get that. And like I said, just a brief description of what each role does. So like I said, if you don't want to go through this whole list, you can use the same filter. And with this filter list, you can filter by what role they have. And another great thing to know how to do is this blue manage button. This is if you are an admin or a personnel manager, you can either add personnel to your organization or using this green plus button right here, or you can remove personnel that are inside your organization using this red remove button here. Using the manage personnel page, you can also assign different roles to different personnel depending on what they need to do within your organization. So we're just going to press cancel to go back. And from here, you can also view requests. You can view membership request, account request, and sponsorship request. As well, on the left-hand side, you can just go to the invitation tab, and where you can invite new users and view any invitations that you have. Moving along, we have our equipment tab on the left-hand side. So this is very important, especially if you're going to be a equipment manager for your organization. So you can import equipment, either chemical or radiological equipment, as well as adding equipment. You can there are 3 ways you can add equipment. You can either create new, copy from existing, or create from a template. So I just selected the create from a template. And so this is great if you're just using basic equipment used across different organizations. So this is really great because you have your different columns here, you have your different types and your different statuses. One thing that I will note, that only equipment that have the ready status will be available to your data collectors using the mobile app out in the field. We also do have the next maintenance so that you can stay on top of your, whether it be yearly or monthly maintenance for your equipment. So brief explanation on the facilities right here. If your organization does have facilities, you can come here on the left-hand side, and then using the green plus add facility button, that is how you would add a new facility for your organization. Next, we are going to go over the standing teams. So this is before the incident actually happens, you can go in and create teams, and teams can be made up of personnel or equipment or a mixture of both. You create a new team, just like we have talked about all these different pages, is this green button on the upper right hand corner, create team. And like I said, this is a great way preemptively to just get ahead of the incident, make sure that your organization is set up for success for when the incident does happen. Very briefly, we're going to go over the alert definitions. So you can create an alert definition for if there is a data reading that comes in for your organization. It will alert either by text or notification certain members of your organization so that everyone has a good situational awareness. You can either enable or disable these for your liking. And on a very similar note, we have the thresholds. And so with these thresholds, they are organization specific, and they can also be event specific. And we can go over, when we go into the event space and go into the live map, event map, this will make a little bit more sense, but you can go in and make this as specific as you need necessary for your organization. And lastly, on the organization side of things, we do have the documents. And so this is a great place. So if your organization has certain protocols or just basic documents, images, anything like that, that you want your personnel and everyone within your organization and partners to be able to view, this is where you can upload those documents, PDFs, whatever it may be. All right, so like I said, that was all we had for the organization side of things. Now we'll be moving over to the event space. So back on this top banner, left of the organization space, we have the event space. So to search for an event, if you're not already in an event, You can press this drop down and you can either search for an event or you can create an event. Well, I have selected Data Collection 101 just to give y'all a live demo of some of the features within the event space. Again, the first thing that you'll be brought to is the event dashboard. This is great for when an event is going on, this data for the last 24 hours. And we have the total data breakdown and a list of field teams available. So field teams are grouped by different colors. And like I said, they can be made up of equipment and personnel. Keep on scrolling down and we can see that we have data collection assignments for those teams, as well as an alert history. All right, and just like we did in the organization space, we're going to work our way down this left-hand side menu. Next, we do have the map, and this is an event map. So every event within CBRNResponder has its own specific event map for geospatial awareness. So right now we have my home state of Florida as an example. And I know earlier when we were talking about thresholds, I was going to say when we got to the event map, it'd make a little bit more sense. Well, if you note the different colors of the icons on the map, the different icons correlate to the threshold. So we have colors like this light green right here would be considered like a background reading, and then we have a darker green for a low reading. We move on to a yellow color for somewhere in between. And from there we go to orange, and then lastly we have red for high readings. Before I get any deeper in the event space, I will point out another great feature for our event map just for your reference. So I'm on this top banner right here for the event map, and this symbology button right here. This is a cheat sheet that I still go back and reference because there are so many different types of icons on the event map. So if you see an icon and you have no idea what it means, then please go use this feature because it really is a lifesaver. One thing that I will point out is this clustering right here. So I'll go back to the event space in a moment. These numbers right here have nothing to do with the actual survey taken or the data collected right there. In fact, that just means that there were 210 different data collection points in a very close space, so they have clustered. And I will go to right here, this number 2 right here. So I've clicked it, and you can see that that 2 just means there are 2 different counts. And what we can do here is expand, and you can see that there are actually 2 different points. We have an observation and a survey. And so this is a great segue into the next part of the event map that I would like to go into. So you can select any icon or survey or any data collection point on the event map, and you'll be brought this quick details box right here, which will give you the ID, date collected, which field team collected it, who is collected by, all this really valuable information. And very importantly, the severity level. And for this case, it is a background severity level. So you can also select additional details. And right here, you can see that this data has been unassessed. And so that's another great feature about data collection within CBRNResponder is we do give you the ability to assess your data, to go in and double check to make sure that this data is good data that you want to use moving forward. So you either have the option to reject it or approve it. And again, this just gives you additional information. Just closing that up. So you can see here we have this additional menu that has popped up for the event space. We have a series of different filters that you can put on your event map to narrow down what you're looking at. So you can either narrow it down by the date range, organization, personnel, so you can get really specific and only view certain personnel, like what data did they collect, or a field team for that matter. As well as you can either toggle on and off the background readings. And so you can collapse or expand any of these by clicking it right there. And next we do have layers. So as you can see, when I expand the layers option, it gives you a series of these toggles. And so you have to toggle them on or off. Oh, excuse me. You can toggle them on or off, and what this will do is it changes the data that you're viewing on your event map. As well as if it is toggled on, you can see, so for facilities, so this is what I'm going to use for an example. Right now, facilities is toggled on, and if you see when I scroll down, I have additional facility options right here. Well, if I go back to layers and toggle facilities off, I no longer have the option to see more facility options. Just going down the list, we do have a lot of features available on the event space, and if you are looking for something a little bit more in depth, please note that we do have other special feature webinars and bonus webinars that do go into different features into great detail, and those can all be found on in our resource library, and I will be able to show you exactly where at the end of the presentation. So right here we have our event details page. On the left-hand side, I've selected event details, and what that does is just brings you to this event details page where you can see everything that you'll need to know about this event, including the name, the sponsor, the date that it started, what the scenario is, what the type is, and what the hazard type is. Moving on down on the left-hand side, I know we talked about partnerships in the organization space, and so this is where they come into play during an event. So you can have only certain partners on a certain event. That way that you're not just sharing all your information for every event for every partner, because you know what, you can make it more specific than that. As well as a list of responders. And your list of equipment as well. Next, we're going to go over the teams. And like I said, before in the organization space, those were standing teams before the event. And so when an event, you do create an event or you've been added, your organization has been added to an event, you'll be able to select field teams. And like I said, field teams are separated out by color. And moving on down, we do have the alert features that we went over in the organization space and the threshold feature that we went over. And like I said, how you modify your threshold is what changes the colors on the event space for specific readings. So that does bring us to the end of this new user webinar for getting started in CBRNResponder. So if you are wanting to go into more detail on a certain feature, this is just a quick explanation on how to get to our special feature webinars inside our resource library.